Hey, we're live.
Yay!
Yay!
People aren't going to know what to do
I
without
know.
the big long rant, like we said before.
Yeah, where's the Chuck Mega John Ranch for the first 20 minutes of the episode?
I know, right? I mean, what are people going to do if we just get down to it and start talking about
Yeah, seriously.
it? Uh,
So I got QuickBooks Online up and running.
Yay!
Yay! I fired everybody that I had previously employed. Boo!
Not yay.
No, definitely not yay. Like I haven't actually told my editor this yet, my screencast editor, because I owe him a lot of money right now, and I don't want him to think that I'm not going to pay him. So I'm going to pay my last chunk of money that I owe him, and then basically say, sorry, it's been a great 5 years, but I can't afford you right now, which really sucks.
Yeah.
Because I hate editing, but
I'm with you there.
I don't have enough money to pay anyone anything right now. I mean, I literally don't have money.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Eating my credit cards, eating my savings, all that crap. But yeah, I got QuickBooks set up like I said I was going to do on the last show. I have a lot of questions. Let's put it that way. And I was really hoping John and Josh were going to be here. I had no idea they were out of town this week. I guess they talked about that after I left last week.
Yeah, they've been talking about it for a couple of weeks off and on.
And I've been gone for so long. So I guess
I may be able to answer some, but I don't know.
So my first question is, I've got my bank accounts, my business bank accounts, and PayPal connected. And I tried to get Stripe connected as well, but it wouldn't work for some reason. It kept giving me a try again in a few hours message. I have no idea what that meant. But my question comes down to, if I have my bank accounts and I have Stripe and PayPal all connected into QuickBooks, what do I count and categorize as income versus transfer versus? I mean, I don't want Stripe and PayPal to count as income, and then the transfer to my bank account to count as income again, because it's the same money. It's just being transferred to my bank account.
Yeah.
So do I categorize that as a transfer?
And then what happens is it doesn't double count the money.
Right.
So
I guess my follow-up question for Josh and John was going to be, how are they doing that? Are they automating that? Do they have rules in place? Are they manually accepting every single payment that comes into Stripe? What's their general process for handling that?
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. My bookkeeper, she has rules for a lot of this stuff.
Right.
And then some of the stuff she categorizes by hand.
Yeah. And I've categorized a few things by hand. And there's a few things that I've added a few rules for recurring payments, like GitHub subscription and things like that, which is pretty nice, being able to create rules for that. I can't figure out where the rules are in QuickBooks, though. Like I know how to create one by going through this ridiculous process of deleting the category and then selecting a new category and then clicking the create rule link that shows up after you do that. But where is like the big list of rules that exist in QuickBooks and see what rules I already have in place?
Now that I can't tell you, because I always just created the rules when I categorize stuff. It was just like, do this kind of thing with these kinds of things.
I need that list because I created a few on accident, just trying to figure out what the crap is going on. And so I know I have a few bad rules in there, including some that may cause some problems for me.
I don't know. I mean, I could Google that for you, but I don't know how helpful that would be. And I'm assuming you already tried that, so.
Yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time with it yet. I spent about 2 hours with it on Wednesday. And then I've been with things trying to trying to be productive. It's difficult, honestly.
Yeah,
I've spent so much dang time working on marketing in the last few months and having that blow up in my face that it has honestly become difficult to be productive again because I don't know. I don't have that regular rhythm and flow of writing code and writing blog posts and everything else like I used to.
Yeah. Well, looks like John's on if you want to ask him how he does his...
Is he actually on, or is his photo just there?
Hi, John's photo.
Can't hear you, John.
Stuff.
Can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah, so as far as the marketing goes, yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to build good habits.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have a great answer for this. I had a long talk with my brother. So he used to do, oddly enough, he used to do inside sales for a company called Inside Sales. And they basically set up marketing campaigns for companies was what his job was. So he'd get big enterprise companies and he'd go in and he'd basically rank them and say, you know, you're doing great here, you're not doing great here. These are the things that convert. So he handed me a whole bunch of stuff and said, look, he said, the most effective thing you can do is blog. Podcasting wasn't even on the list, just because I don't think they really think along those lines. Rather than it being less effective or more effective, I think it just depends. But yeah, so blogging was kind of the top of the list, and then SEO was next. And then from there it was LinkedIn, Twitter, and something else. I don't remember. But anyway, so that pretty much convinced me that I just need to get on. Oh, email marketing was the other one.
Yeah.
So I just need to get my act together and make sure that I am owning LinkedIn, Twitter, and make sure I'm blogging.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm trying to get back to. I used to be really good about getting all that done, and so that's what I'm trying to get back to having a regular schedule, and that's really what my marketing guy Mark was doing for me, was helping me recognize the need for me to be producing content and helping to keep me accountable with that by setting schedules and setting deadlines and all that kind of stuff. And so I've got this great set of Trello boards that he and I have built up over the last couple of months. And there's certainly a ton of work in there for me to do. But now I need to get back in the habit of using Trello to manage that,
right,
and setting deadlines and keeping the deadlines and just having a constant stream of new content, which needs to include more videos. Right now, I'm only doing the one video a week on Watch Me Code. That's insufficient for building my audience at this point. I need to get back into YouTube videos, start doing my Thoughts on Code series again. And I also want to start doing kind of an office hours thing with Watch Me Code subscribers and Slack members, where I'm available in a Google Hangout to answer questions, and if there's no questions, I'll just talk about whatever subject for a while.
Yeah.
The plan is to make that for members only, basically, and then for a few of those videos to be put on YouTube just to show people what I'm doing, but the majority of them would remain members only and would probably go up on the Watch Me Code website for people to view after the fact.
Right. That makes sense.
But then I've started blogging again. I'm getting back into that habit. I've had a couple of blog posts consistently on Mondays, including this last week, Monday. I've written 2 blog posts about Docker in the last 2 weeks. And on Monday, my blog post included giving away 2 of my normally paid Docker episodes, the ones where you have to be a Watch Me Code member,
right,
to see. And so I put together a full automation, and that was the genesis of me asking Josh how he does the content upgrades.
Right.
which was a great little video that he put together. He's starting to put out some really good YouTube videos on this stuff. I'm really happy to see him doing that.
Yep.
So I put together a simple automation sequence, and that blog post has a post footer, a Thrive Leads form for people to sign up and get the 2 free episodes. And I've had 26 people join my mailing list through that blog post so far. And I'm probably going to continue using that post footer in Docker episodes or Docker blog posts for a while and leave it up just to get people into Watch Me Code videos to see the kind of stuff that I'm producing and all that, beyond just the free installation videos that I do on YouTube. But then, yeah, getting into more video, more content, getting some of my existing content packaged up properly. There's a ton of work that I need to do in organizing my content and repackaging things and marketing it and getting stuff launched to my mailing list that actually makes sense. And figuring out why the crap my mailing list has tanked on me in terms of sales. It's been an incredibly frustrating 6 months with very few sales of anything, and then having both the RabbitMQ relaunch and the JavaScript This email course tanking on me the way they did. Oddly enough, though, my LeanPub sales have gone up in the last couple of weeks. Like this week alone, I've had, where'd my numbers go?
LeanPub for your books?
Yeah, for my RabbitMQ books, specifically on LeanPub, I've had like 30 sales on LeanPub in the last week.
Oh, nice.
For the RabbitMQ books. And they're averaging 10 to 15 bucks a sale, but I do have a couple of bundles in there, which are like 30 bucks each, and I'm selling a fair amount of those bundles as well. So a couple $100 in LeanPub sales this week, and I'm not advertising those things. I'm not talking about them anywhere. I don't know where people are finding them, unless they're the only thing I can think of is people coming in through Stack Overflow questions and answers, because that's the only place where I really have any direct links to my books is on Stack Overflow answers. I don't talk about them on my blog much. I don't run any ad campaigns. I don't really mention them ever, except for on Stack Overflow. So unless people are just getting SEO magic on LeanPub, then they're probably coming from there. But LeanPub doesn't really tell me. It doesn't give me any kind of analytics to
that'd
show
be nice if they would.
Yeah, it would. But whatever.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So yeah, it continues to be difficult. 3 months ago, I was trying to hire people like mad off of Upwork, and frankly loving it, having a team of people to work with. Now they're all gone because I can't pay any of them, and it sucks. So I'm back to doing everything myself.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, I was worried about winding up in that same place, with everything with Mandy and things being tight.
Right.
And just stuff like that. I'm like, I really don't want to edit podcasts. I don't want to wind up, having to do a lot of this stuff myself. With Mandy being gone now for about a week and a half, there are some things that I've had to do myself. But yeah. And yeah, picking up that slack, especially if it's stuff that you don't like, is no fun.
Fortunately, on the editing side of things, it's honestly, it's been years since I have done a regular amount of editing. A lot of my YouTube videos I've edited myself in the last couple of months, but
yeah,
I have purposely recorded those YouTube videos with the intention of not editing them much because I don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess in the last few years of producing content and lowering my expectations of saying everything perfectly and doing everything perfectly while I'm recording, I've been able to produce some pretty dang good stuff with very few
Mm-hmm.
need for edits.
Well, the YouTube stuff, a lot of people expect to kind of be impromptu anyway,
Right.
and they don't expect that kind of polish. So
Right.
as long as it's not like terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. But even for the real Watch Me Code episodes, I seem to have developed a pretty natural style of talking and doing. And I mean, even a year ago, when I would sit down to record something, I would repeat the same sentence 5 times, and I would do that, 15 times in a 20-minute episode. And then my editor would just go and pick the right take and make it all sound good and make it
Yeah.
perfect for me. And at this point, I have enough level of comfort and understanding of what I'm trying to say most of the time that it only happens once or twice in an episode, and it usually only takes 1 or 2 retakes to get the right words.
Yeah.
So it's really easy for me to pick those out and edit them and move on. And so like the episode that I published this week, I think I had 2 locations in a 10-minute episode where I had to retake a sentence twice, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was easy to spot those and move on. And I've got a pretty good process for doing the actual edits and just getting it done and published. It still takes about an hour for me to completely edit and publish a 10-minute episode, but that's a whole lot better than the 12 to 16 hours that it was taking me 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. One thing that I've been doing, because I've been working off and on Rails clips and getting that relaunched.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have somebody that's been recording the video for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just provide, so we work together on the script, but I'll admit he does most of the work on the script. And
Right.
then I just go in and basically read it. Of course, usually it's 2 or 3 reads because it's like this. It looks good on the screen, but when I say it, it feels funny.
Yep.
And so I'll restate it like 4 times, and then the one that doesn't have the stutters in it, where it's
Right.
that doesn't feel right, those are the ones that go in. And the thing that's nice is that the script has timestamps for the video cuts.
Nice.
And so they just cut the video and then they layer in the audio and they're done.
Nice.
And I've got a guy in Serbia that does the edit. I think I haven't talked to him about the screencasts. He's been editing the conference videos, and he's $20 a video for the conferences.
Nice.
So
yeah,
yes.
And my editor that I've been using for years, it took him on average about half an hour to edit one of my videos, so it was only costing me $25 a video, basically. Right. But when I'm doing a video a week and often sending him additional stuff that I need done for other purposes, it adds up pretty quick to a couple $100 a month, and I pay him in big chunks. I basically send him $500 at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, my video recorder guy, he gets 1 or 2 videos done a week. I'm way behind on getting on his stuff, but when I get caught up, then I'll have like 15 or 20 videos to release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and just going back to your situation, it's tough to, it's like, look, I'm used to not doing the stuff that I hate and doing the stuff that I like, and
right.
The editing, nobody cares who edits it, right?
Right. Yeah.
The video has you on it, you're sharing your expertise. That's what people are really paying for.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I mean, if this is what it takes so that you have somewhere to move forward from, then it's probably a good move. It's definitely not pleasant, but yeah, And the other thing is when you get into a position where you can hire him back or hire somebody else, you know how you want it done.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know. I don't have a whole lot else to say this week. I've just been taking over everything that I used to not do and trying to figure out QuickBooks and get everything situated.
Yep.
I just need to get into that habit again of managing my work on Trello and getting things done.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting you're talking about letting all the people who are doing work for you go, because I've actually been bringing more people on.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my situation. I have a girl starting work for me on Monday. She's only going to be working 10 hours a week, but she's going to be doing a lot of the marketing and outreach stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably going to start her with the conferences, like getting conference speakers lined up for the next 3 or 4 conferences.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I should probably just have her line up speakers for all the conferences up through JS Remote Conf in January, so I can start priming that pump. So when I send the launch emails, it just works. But yeah, then this guy Gerald that I've had working for me in Philippines, it took a little bit of back and forth with communication, but he set up all of the webinars in Webinar Jam. I bought Webinar Jam.
Nice.
And I'm going to be ditching Crowdcast.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with Crowdcast as well. It's sad because I really wanted to love Crowdcast, and I used them 3 times for my functional JavaScript series.
Yep.
But the quality of video output in the download that they give you was literally the deal breaker for me. Giving a 640 by 480 video.
I agree.
When you have at least 2 people speaking, and then when you share a screen, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, it was that, and then I think I was paying $89 or $100 and something. I don't remember which plan I was on. A month for Crowdcast.
Right.
And Webinar Jam's $500 for the year.
Yeah.
And I got $100 off, so it's $4 for the year. And so if you do crappy math like mine, it comes out to about $35 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's way cheaper. The video quality is better, and automatically posts to YouTube because it's Google Hangouts or Hangouts on Air.
Yeah.
And it has all of the stuff that Crowdcast offers.
Yeah, I don't understand how Crowdcast charges as much as they do for what they provide.
Yeah, they have the Q&A, they have the chat room, they have the polling, they have the analytics, they have everything. And so I'm just like, yeah, this is kind of a no-go. So I'm going to run the conference out of Webinar Jam, and I'm going to run these webinars out of Webinar Jam. I'm thinking about telling my podcast co-hosts that we're going to run our podcast through Webinar Jam so people can watch live if they want to. Mm-hmm. The other thing is in the video, even if people turn their cameras off, because it shows their picture and it kind of vibrates when they talk. But then I can take those videos and I can put them on like Apple TV in an app, and I can put them on the iPhone app that I want to build for the shows and all that stuff. And so, overall, I just think it's an interesting opportunity there. But yeah, it's cheaper and it's fully functional, and I get high quality video out of it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that video quality was the price and video quality were the deal breakers for me to cancel my Crowdcast account.
Yep.
For now, for me, when I get around to doing my office hours idea with Watch Me Code stuff, I'm probably just going to do Hangout on Air. Which I heard my friend Mark showed me an email that he got from Google saying that Hangout on Air as of September 12th is no longer going to be a part of Google Hangouts. It's going to be solely available through your YouTube account.
Interesting.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's how we start this video anyway, so it's not like it's foreign to me.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I guess Google Hangouts really is dying. I don't
Yeah.
understand the point of having this thing called Google Hangouts if they're not going to support the things that Hangouts does.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as any of that goes, I really don't care if it's part of YouTube or part of Google Plus.
Yeah, I don't really either. I
But
want the ability to have, you know, one or more people talking and then a chat room
yeah,
for people to ask, which I guess I need to that was going to be another question. Have you done a Google Hangout where you have a group of people talking and then you have people listening and commenting and asking questions and stuff?
yes,
Is that what the Hangouts on Air does for you?
no.
How does that work then?
Basically, I've done it either through Crowdcast. Crowdcast used to have a really nice plugin for uh, Google Hangouts.
Yeah,
They
that's
don't
what they were
anymore.
built on originally.
Yeah. It's the same story with Webinar Jam.
Right.
The chat and all those widgets, they're built into the plugin for Google Hangouts. So you can just manage it all from there. And so, yeah, people are watching on a page and then, you have the chat room running. I've done similar when I first did a couple of webinars. I actually embedded the YouTube Live video on a page, and then I just was using, I think it was Chatroll or something, that I also embedded on the page. And so people would post their chat questions, and it was for the freelancer show Q&As is the way we did those.
Right.
And that worked fine too. And the thing that's nice is, then you get direct live feedback from people who want to participate in the show, and it's really cool.
Important for me for the office hours idea. Yeah. I need a way to let people be a part of the conversation without being in the video.
Yeah, and that's the story with Webinar Jam. The thing that's interesting too is that one of the things I liked about Crowdcast was that they had a button that you could click that would bring the person who asked the question on screen.
Yeah.
And Webinar Jam has the same thing.
Yeah.
So you can pull them in and then drop them back off when they're done asking.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I literally see no advantage to sticking with Crowdcast.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it because I've been working with those guys, with Cy and Dylan, for a while, since before they actually officially launched. And I loved what they had, but I mean, I can't deal with that audio quality or the video quality. They cost so much more. So we'll see how things go with Webinar Jam here for the next year. And I guess I still have about 20 odd days to cancel and get all my money back if I decide I don't like them. But so far I've been pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm looking at their website right now, and it looks pretty nice.
Yep. But yeah, speaking of webinars, so I sent an email out to my email list yesterday morning, and I actually goofed the link. So they got a page. I got a bunch of emails. I really want your webinar, and there's no sign up button on here. And so I fixed it and redirected people to the right place. And so far as of this morning, I have 171 people signed up to attend the webinar. So John was telling me not to get my hopes up because, probably have 30 or 40 or, maybe 50 people show up, but even that I'd be happy with.
Yeah, when I did my first functional JS webinar, I had like 350, 400 and some odd people signed up, and about 150 showed up.
Yeah.
It was, you can expect about 25% of the signups to actually show up on the day of, at the live event.
That's fine.
On average, I think I hit closer to 40% for that first one, and then after that, the second and third ones, I had like 40, 50 people, even though I still had like 500 or 600 people registered.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people too asking me, if it's going to be recorded and if they can get the recordings later. And I've been telling people yes, but I'm not sure if, I mean, I want them to show up to the webinar, so I don't know if I want to be telling people that.
That was one thing I liked about Crowdcast is I very specifically told people, even if you can't make it to the live event, register so you can watch the video as soon as it's over. And a lot of people did that. So there were 140 people that were there live, but then within the first day, there were several hundred views of the video, even before I got it edited and put up on YouTube.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm thinking that I'll probably do something similar. In fact, I'm actually going to switch over once the video, or once I'm done with the webinar. I'm just going to embed it on a watch page that has the on it. And so then if people come to it afterward, then it's just going to show them that watch page.
Yeah.
And that should work out pretty well, I think. But yeah. So I got all that set up. Gerald actually, he just went and did it.
Nice.
He had a few questions. I've been putting the how-tos in the DocuWiki that I set up. And so for the most part, he was able to just do stuff, but that worked out pretty well. I'm trying to decide exactly how I want to handle things for next week, though, because both Angular Remote Conf and this webinar are on the start on the 14th. And so I want to send people emails saying, don't forget to get your Angular Remote Conf tickets, but I also want to send emails out saying, don't miss the webinar. And so I'm thinking I might send the one email to everyone on the list except for Adventures in Angular subscribers, and then send Angular Remote Conf email to the Angular subscribers. Because
when are both of these things happening?
Next Wednesday.
They're both on Wednesday?
Yes.
Ouch. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any advice for you on that one yet. I got myself into somewhat similar trouble with my last webinar, middle of my RabbitMQ relaunch. And then I realized, oh crap, I have to send out these reminders about the webinar.
Yeah.
And so I ended up sending multiple emails to my whole list for several days on unrelated subjects. I timed them so that they, some of them were in the morning, some of them were later in the day, so that it wouldn't be completely overwhelming, but it was still like, wow, this is way too many emails going out for too many different subjects.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of dealing with that because I've got the other conferences coming up, and I've got the other webinars coming up, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's been kind of crazy this week. Just, it was better than last week.
Yeah. I can imagine that might be kind of easy.
Yeah, that was a big stretch right there.
Yeah.
Last week was so rough, but yeah. So just getting the webinars together, getting stuff together for the conferences, and then just making sure that I'm ready for this girl to start. And then yeah, I've just got a ton of stuff to figure out. But yeah, a lot of it too is just it just comes down to taking the time to do the stuff I know I got to do, and that's been kind of tricky, just because blogging takes time, and working on the book takes time, and getting the conferences together takes time.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where it was really nice to have Mark around for a couple of months to help me plan and organize that stuff. I mean, as much as I had hired him to work on the marketing side of things. And all of that content organization really is marketing. It was equally nice to have him help keep me organized. You know, he was as much a personal assistant for my business, for me and my business, as he was a marketing strategist.
Right. Yeah, I think that's how this girl Melinda's going to wind up working out. Yeah, I get that. I think you're like me in the sense that you kind of get the grand visions and the big ideas, and some of the implementation details. It's like, yes, I know I need to do that, but
let me go do this other thing that I already am really good at doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love doing it.
Yep, that's me.
Yeah, I mean, I spent like 4 hours yesterday playing with an idea that I have for Node and Express. I need to be able to load a complete sub application as a plugin into my parent Express app at runtime without knowing the details of the sub application. Is basically I need a plugin architecture for Express because one of my client projects literally needs to allow me to write plugins for the Express application and do a whole bunch of other crazy things. And so I spent like 4 hours yesterday toying with the idea and making it work. And then I spent another 2 hours this morning putting that into an NPM module and writing the Docker configuration for testing it and doing all this fun stuff, things that I love doing.
Right.
Instead of writing the blog post that I'm supposed to write today, instead of working on my QuickBooks configuration, instead of looking at the marketing efforts that I need to have in place for October for my first small package launch of my Docker screencasts. I mean, there's a never-ending list of things that I should be doing and that I want to be doing. And I really need time to do the things that I want to do, or I'm going to go crazy like I have in the last 6 months.
Yep. I can tell you how I'm combating this, but you're letting all your people go, and that is that
exactly.
I've created a Trello board that's just Chuck's pile of stuff.
Yeah.
Basically. I think it's something like that. But anyway, so it's all the stuff that I know needs to get done, and I'm going to add Melinda and Gerald to it, and then I'm just going to say, if this is something you think you can do, then pull it over to the I think I can do this for you column and assign yourself as a member on the card. And then if I move it over into the in progress or in flight, that means go for it.
Yep.
Right? So.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get to. My screencast editor, who, I've worked with him for so many years that I could just send him stuff and not work. But I was getting him integrated into Trello with all the details that he needs in there instead of an email. I had my YouTube video editor for the Thoughts on Code stuff. He was fully integrated into Slack as well as Trello. I had, the marketing guy, he was all over Slack and Trello, helping me keep everything organized. And then I had, miscellaneous other people that I had small projects done, and they were also, I'd pull them into Slack whenever they were doing anything. And it was nice. It was really good to have that freedom and flexibility to just produce the content and not have to do all the work myself. But
yep. Well, one thing at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can sympathize, but you just got to take it one thing at a time, so maybe you get back to the point where you can hire an editor, and then you get back to the point where you can hire a keep me organized person, and then, kind of go from there.
Well, the larger problem that I see, though, which is kind of the overarching theme of my year, is how do I get there?
Yeah.
because I keep having these fails, and I keep
Mm-hmm.
floundering and not knowing how to get out of this. And I'm at the point where I just want to turn monthly subscriptions back on and see what happens.
Yeah,
You know,
I
because
don't know.
I've gone for so long, for so many months with, yeah, okay, an average of one and a half new subscribers per month at the new rate, but that's not growth. That's barely holding on.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, I mean, if you look at my actual numbers on Barometrics, just hit watchmecode.barometrics.com and you can see my real numbers. Everything is trending down.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. It's hard to know what the right move is. I mean, I have been in the same spot to the degree that it's just like, yeah, I know where I want to wind up, but how in the heck do I get there?
yeah,
And
everything I'm trying is failing. So I got
yeah.
to do something different. Josh Pigford from Barometrics had a pretty awesome blog post this week on um, how that the gist of the post was how that new feature will not make the huge difference in your income. The whole if you
Mm-hmm.
build it they will come fallacy. And it was a really great post from on that perspective and on his lessons learned. And he showed his own charts about how every time they released the latest and greatest awesome new feature, it made zero difference. He just has this constant trend line. There's
Mm-hmm.
no difference whatsoever whenever they release any features. I mean, you can
Right.
look at their system as a whole, and you can see that the accumulation of these features is going to be producing more revenue over
Mm-hmm.
time. But there was never the hockey stick moment that
Right.
people so desperately want when they release a new feature. And when he got down to the end of that blog post, he talked about the reality of continuous growth not being one single effort, one big push, one anything that you do in your business, but a constant tweaking of every knob and lever and control throughout your business.
Mm-hmm.
The marketing, the blogging, the social media interactions, the product features, everything around the entirety of the business, and how you have to continuously tweak many aspects of the business as they relate to each other in the current efforts that you're doing
Right.
in order to have continuous growth. And I think that's a big part of what I've failed at in the last 6 months is I put all my eggs into the new pricing structure.
Uh-huh.
And I just assumed that if I have the new pricing structure in place, all I need to do is fix the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't been iterating on any of this. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
been looking at how does the pricing structure, how does the marketing affect the pricing structure? How does the pricing structure affect the marketing? How does, monthly versus annual affect all of this? I haven't
Right.
been looking at the whole thing. I've been looking at, I just need to fix this one thing and then it'll
Mm-hmm.
be okay.
Right.
And it's not working at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, to your point that that one feature isn't going to be the hockey stick moment. The hockey stick moment happens when you launch. When you give people a set of things that solve their problem.
Right.
And sure, those, like you said, that feature down the line, it may sell more people because that feature is something that helps tip more people over the scales. But
Right.
it's, I mean, the people who already want your product are already paying for it.
Right.
So then it's all right. Well, what can I do? Um, how do I get people in? How do I get more people in? And yeah, it's tricky because it's not just marketing in the sense that, okay, how's my messaging? How's my landing page? How's my sales page? How's my price? But it's also, how do I get more traffic? How do I get more of the right traffic? How do I get the right people to select in and the right people to select out? And yeah, it's tricky. So yeah, I mean,
yeah, and then I still have the problem, the classic me problem of the way I name things and describe things on Watch Me Code is very utilitarian, like features, like here's lesson and feature, but I never talk about benefits and solutions.
right.
And that's a huge fail on my part, and I've known that for years, and I don't know how to fix that problem without getting somebody else to write the content for me.
Yeah, that's hard. I'm the same way. I think it's a classic engineer, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you how many horsepower it has, but you
Yeah.
probably don't care.
Right.
The best solutions are it gets you kids to school and crap like that.
Yeah. The thing that really drives me nuts about that for me is I had a friend ask me a question via email on he wanted advice on a presentation that he was doing. It was a 10-minute presentation, and it was on this library that he wrote, and he had created his presentation with classic first time presenter mistakes of talking about the feature set and talking about how it works and kind of just being a live version of a README file. And a bunch of other people had already told him, no, you need to think about this from a marketing perspective. You need to tell people what solutions this was solving. And so he asked me to chime into the conversation. And I had this 5-paragraph giant email of explaining why those other people were right and what he needed to focus on. And just before I hit send, I deleted everything from that email and asked him one question. What does this thing actually solve? What problem does this actually solve? And he responded by telling me about the features in the library that he was going to be talking about. And we went back and forth like this. He told me what the features were. I said, no, I don't want to know about the product. I want to know about the problem that you're solving. Tell me what the problem is to begin with.
Right.
And so we went around in circles like this for 10 or 15 emails until we finally got back to the actual problem that people face on a daily basis, like building a menu system that has the ability to bring in menu items that when you click will run code that is in a completely separate module somewhere else. Because ultimately the menu system should not know anything about the code that is being executed. It should just be it should be the integration between the user interface and the code that happens on the back end without actually having the logic and process directly tied to that click. And so we went through these emails, and when we finally got back to him describing that scenario to me, I turned around and said, okay, you've already written your presentation and it's perfect. Just take everything that you've told me, rearrange a couple of things, and you're done. And when I went through and did it myself just to see what it would look like, it was perfect marketing material. It was the perfect description of the problem set, the solution, the scenario that everybody would understand, what kind of effort it would take to do this yourself versus just using this one simple solution that he built. It was great material, and I can do that for other people. I can sort of do that when it comes to the libraries that I produce and put out on GitHub and NPM. I don't know how to do that for the products I build, for the screencasts I record, for the ebooks I write.
Right. It's tricky. I mean, how to know what people really care about. And I'm not just saying like, I want the website to be faster, or I want.
Why do you want it to be faster?
Exactly.
It's
So
it's the 5 whys. It's well, I want the website to be faster. Why? Well, because people are complaining that it's slow. Why does it matter if they're complaining that it's slow? Well, they're abandoning their shopping carts because it's not responsive. Well, why does it matter? I mean, you start asking why. You get to the 5th why, and you've probably found the real problem that you're trying to solve.
Right. It'll decrease my bounce rate and I'll wind up making more money, or things like that. And so if you can hit those issues, and with programmers, it doesn't always come down to that money question, right?
Right.
Because they're not seeing the bottom line, and they, so unless somebody is telling them the website used to load in 1 second, now it loads in 2, and we're making half the money, they're just not aware. And so,
and even if they are aware, they probably don't care about that because they don't.
Right.
It doesn't affect them directly.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you can work things out so that they can make the pitch to their boss. Yeah, we should do what Derek says because it'll make the website faster and that'll make us more money.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's for programmers, the motivation is different. And so, yes, you can explain to them why what you're teaching them is useful, but you have to hit them at that emotional level too, where you're going to be a better programmer, or you're going to, confound and amaze your friends, or I don't know,
right.
You're going to be able to make more of a difference in the world. Because we talk about, wanting our apps to be more mobile friendly or more accessible or more this or more that. And to a certain degree, there's some fulfillment in that, in the sense that we did something and we did something well and we did it right. But for a lot of programmers, their fulfillment factors are other things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you can break it down to, whatever your mission is, people on slower smartphones can get on it, which means, people in poorer areas or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can handle so many transactions per second, because you're offloading it with RabbitMQ. And what that really means is that you can serve more people when they text into your thing to transfer money to their family.
Right.
And, and so you tie it back to something that has that emotional pull for people. And I don't know exactly what that is for programmers, which is
that's the real challenge in what I'm doing. I mean, I can tell you all these things. I can teach other people these things in theory, but in practice, what are the actual scenarios that my audience cares about, and what of the billion reasons to use RabbitMQ is going to be the one that people care about?
Right.
How do I find that commonality of where my audience is and what they care about at that deep level, not at the surface level of somebody that already understands that they need RabbitMQ and they just need some resource to go learn it. I mean, I think that's a lot of the sales that I get is, oh, I need to learn RabbitMQ. Oh, here's a resource for learning it.
Right.
Instead of what I really want is, that deeper, I need to learn the principles and practices that will make me a better programmer while solving actual problems that I have in everyday development life.
Yeah. Well, maybe you need your equivalent of a pointy-haired boss. And then, in your little drawings and cartoons that you do.
Yeah.
And then pointy-haired boss comes in and says, you need to blah, we've done, and you can make them sound as ridiculous as you want, but, we've surveyed 8 billion people across the globe. There are only 7 billion people in the world. And we figured out that if we can cut our load time by 2 seconds, by 0.2 seconds, that we can we can increase our revenue by $1 billion, and then, your little dude goes on Watch Me Code and, realizes,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, we can reduce the load time by 0.2 seconds by adding this to our build process. And then you give them the video.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, but it is something where it's a scenario that programmers at least face on a regular basis. Or you could make the programmer into a superhero, and then, the superhero saves the day by making the website mobile friendly or something. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a stretch, but you're telling this story where people actually identify.
Yeah.
But it's tough too, because the external motivations for programmers are different. Like if you were trying to sell business people on it, I mean, you tie that sucker to revenue and
Mm-hmm.
you're good. This will cut your expenses. This will, increase your revenue. It'll make people happier with you. It'll bring in more website traffic, and all these things that, more or less directly translate to more money.
Mm-hmm.
It's an easy sell, but for programmers, ultimately it's, get the boss off my back, or, on my side project, make it that much cooler, or, be able to talk to my programmer friends about some technology that is wicked awesome that they haven't heard of yet, or stuff like that. And a lot of people are motivated by different aspects of those same things. So,
well, the dumb thing is I know how to talk to both of those audiences.
Yeah.
I mean, I have this story that comes up pretty regularly in my Twitter feed, where I talk about how I was able to spend $75,000 on virtualization hardware in the middle of a budget freeze when the IT department couldn't get $750 stuff that they legitimately needed.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes down to how to knowing how to talk to your audience.
Yeah.
And I think a part of what I'm realizing, over the last 6 months and through this conversation, is that there's a huge disconnect between my pricing structure and my audience. Because my pricing structure is aimed squarely at business people.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Pluralsight kind of audience, where you've got corporation paying for something, but Pluralsight has that corporate business locked up. I mean, that's where everybody goes.
Yeah, that doesn't mean they wouldn't spend that money with you, but you've got to show them that's
right. Exactly. I have to show the business the value.
Yeah.
But everything that I've done in my blogging and in my career and as a consultant years ago was all about the developer. And that's really where I prefer my focus to be. I want to make you a better developer. That has always been my goal in blogging and consulting and everything else that I've done. And I think the disconnect, there's a huge disconnect in my marketing, my pricing structure,
Mm-hmm.
my content. It doesn't align with that goal. I mean, parts of each might, but there's not the big picture. I've been scrambling and trying to throw different parts of my business in different directions, and it's not good.
Yeah, I think there's something there that you definitely need to consider and think about, figure out exactly
And
how you want that to line
this
up.
isn't like spur of the moment.
No.
Just thinking off the top of my head either. This is culmination of a lot of feedback from multiple surveys, talking to a lot of different people, looking at different aspects of my business with different
Mm-hmm.
eyes.
Yeah, one thing that I would get really clear on, though, is what do you mean by better programmer and how do you get people there?
Exactly. That's
Because if you can articulate that, then it becomes a whole lot easier to start figuring out, okay, then this is what I'm actually selling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you're not just selling better programming, you're selling some version of that means something to people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got to figure out who your audience is and what it's worth to them. And I was thinking about this the other day too, when, you know, with our conversation last time, I think it was last time, where you talked about being that bridge gapper.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm using John's words.
Yep.
But you know, where you're filling in that, you know, from
intermediate to advanced.
Yeah, educated beginner.
Yeah.
To you know, I really get it, and I'm into advanced topics. And you said that it didn't really matter what people used or what they learned, but at the same time, I'm sure there are certain classes of things that people could learn. I mean, you know, take Docker for example. Do they have to know Docker? Well, if the company they're working for uses Docker, then probably, but otherwise,
but they're probably going to get on the job training from their coworkers anyways.
Right. You know, build tools. You know, does it matter if it's Webpack or whatever? No, not necessarily, but at the same time, I mean, if you're teaching them how to build a build tool with Grunt or Gulp or, you know, whatever your weapon of choice is process, there's value there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same with Docker, you know, as long as they understand some deployment process and what goes into it.
I don't even care about deploying Docker is the thing.
Yeah,
like,
but I'm just,
I straight up tell people don't deploy with Docker. You don't need to.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that it's a means of getting your program up on the server, and that's something that people generally are going to have some understanding of.
Yeah.
You
but
know,
for me, that server is my development environment.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's still setup and stuff that goes on around it.
Yeah.
You know, setting up your development environment, you know, however you want to view it. But, you know, they probably have to have some understanding of deployment. They probably have to have some understanding of, if they're doing web development, you know, they have to have some understanding of front-end logic and frameworks and things like that. You know, on the back end, they need to understand how to connect to databases and how to think about managing and moving data around. It doesn't matter if it's Postgres or Mongo or something else, but, you know, by getting in and digging into some of these tools and just saying, look, the point here isn't Postgres, the point here is data. And, you know, how you think about data, how do you manage data, how do you move data, how do you interact, you know, how do you deal with some of these common problems that you were going to run into with data? You know, I think that's the educational area that you can just say, look, you know, we have series on these different technologies, and ultimately it's so that you can learn good practices when you're dealing with these problem areas. And then you can explain to people, instead of saying, we're going to teach you these technologies, to which they may say, yeah, but I don't need 3 of those. You can say, you know, if you're a beginner and you're trying to figure out how to move into advanced or senior developer area, these are the kind of things you need to know, and these are the technologies that we're going to demonstrate those things with.
Right.
And then you can make the connection there. So once you've gone through all of our videos, or you've gone through enough of our videos, you're going to have a good understanding of how to solve problems in these key areas, and you're going to be able to operate at a higher level because you understand how these parts of those applications. And I don't know if that's the core message you want to send or not, but it was something that I thought about. But then you can break it down, and then you can actually tag or color code or whatever the videos and just say, look, you know, if you're struggling with your database, then go through a couple of our database series.
Right.
And if you're struggling with deployments and production system management, then, you know, go through some of our, you know, our deployment videos, or our, you know, production system videos, or monitoring videos, or, you know, whatever. And that way you give people a good way of figuring out what, you know, where they're deficient, and give them a path to get to where they need to be. But yeah, ultimately, I think you have something there. I think you're thinking along the right lines. It's just a matter of solidifying those concepts
Right.
for your business and then being able to tell people what they are.
Yeah.
And yeah, copywriting isn't my thing either. I think we just need to clone Josh.
Seriously.
So I'm also curious, as you're working through this and figuring it out, I mean, how much clarity or how far down the tunnel do you expect that this is going to help you see? I mean, is this going to give you vision or whatever for a few months or for a year or for a couple of years? Or
I have no idea. Honestly, I question if I'm even in the right business at this point.
I think there's a business there.
But is it my business?
I don't know. I think that depends a lot on you.
Yeah. And that's been a huge question on my mind in the last month is, with everything I've put into this, with all of the problems that I know I have in my business, is this the right business, or is there, is it just that there are some problems I just need to put some time and effort into, and everything will be okay? Or is there something fundamentally wrong with the business that I have put myself into? Not wrong in terms of it's not a viable business, wrong in terms of this is not where I should be with my business. Because
Uh,
when it comes down to individual interactions, you sit me down with a developer that has a problem set, whether it's career related, technology related, concepts in code, even to an extent marketing, because as bad as I seem to be at marketing, I know a lot of the mechanics of marketing. I just
mhm.
don't know the copywriting side, the business side of it. You sit me down with somebody that has a problem set, and at the end of the day, I've made that person a better version of themselves. I've
Mhm.
helped. I can help them. I can get them through the issue. I can get them, 10 steps ahead of where they were. That's what I do. It's what I've always done.
Right.
And that just, I've always assumed, I've always thought that Watch Me Code and my ebooks and my blogging and everything else as an extension of my ability to do that.
Mhm.
And I question that now. Is that really what this business is and what it does for people? And is my vision of what I am and who I am and how I work with people, is that a viable business? Or is there a business that is there a business where that skill set happens to be a part of the business but is not the business itself? And do I need to look for that?
I can tell you that my inclination is to tell you that you just need to stick with it. That if you stick it out and keep on the things you're working on, and thinking about the things you're thinking about, that you can get to where you want to be with the business you have. But I can't articulate to you why. So, take that for what it's worth. But yeah, I think where you're at, I think you can get the fulfillment you want from it, and I think you can make it viable financially. I don't know how to tell you what the next thing that, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different call without John and Josh on here.
It is. And my voice hurts.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I run into the same thing with my business. You know, I mean, I have crap go down with one of the shows, and you know, should I be doing this anymore? Or, you know, everything that went on with Mandy, it was like, you know what, we were great together, you know, in business.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's like, did I just screw it up? You know, and I feel like I know those answers, but at the same time, it's, I don't know. And I have a pretty good idea of where I want to wind up by the end of the year, but again, it's, I don't know. So yeah, it's just it's hard to have those answers. What I think I know the answers are, you know, I'm gonna get some products together and get those out, and I'm gonna nail down a lot of the stuff with the sponsorships, which seems to be working out okay these days. I've had several companies reach out to me for that.
Speaking of sponsorships, totally change subjects for a moment, if you don't mind.
Uh-huh.
Would you be willing to take over the Entrepreneur sponsorship?
I can do that.
Because I have literally neglected it for 6 months.
Uh-huh.
And those emails that you forwarded to me, that person contacted me 6 months ago, and I'm just like, I don't got time for this.
I've been working with them for my other shows, so
Yeah, and we've had multiple people inquire about sponsoring Entreprogrammers, including some businesses that I thought would have been great to have as sponsors, but I've had zero time to deal with any of it, to the point where, you know, our sponsorship income has been zero for 6 months. I've been using our existing backlog of money from previous sponsorships to pay for everything.
gotcha. So DigitalOcean's not sending us money anymore?
I haven't asked them to in 6 months. Their next pay up was supposed to be in October, or is supposed to be in October, and I was planning on sending them an email about it this week, and that didn't happen. You know,
Yeah.
got freaking busy with everything again.
Oh, tell
So
me about it.
I need to be out of the sponsorship side of things because I am failing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it anyway, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, DigitalOcean pulled out of sponsoring my shows in June, so.
Yeah.
Um,
And I have no idea if they're interested in Entreprogrammers anymore or not. I haven't talked to them in 6 months.
yeah, I don't know. But I can talk to some of my other sponsors and see.
Yeah. Yeah, and that one that where you copied me on the emails. I mean, if you've been working with them and if they're good, then you know we don't really need more than one sponsor.
Yeah.
I've been charging $1,200 a quarter,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I think it was a quarter, or was it a month? I don't remember now. I think it was
I
a
don't know.
quarter. I'm pretty sure it was a quarter, and that was enough to pay for everything that Entreprogrammers needs, including editing.
Right.
And if you totally can't, I mean,
Well, I can. I'm just trying to figure out how it fits in with what I've
yeah,
already got going.
you know, maybe John would be up for doing it. He'd probably be better at it than I know he'd be better at it than me. He's the aggressive type A personality that'll just keep hounding someone and then
I've been doing
pull
much better at that.
pulling the plug, you know.
It's kind of funny because I have a Trello board for sponsorships,
Mm-hmm.
and when they come in, I reach out to them, and then I just pester them every couple weeks. And I've actually had a few work out now where after pestering them for about 2 months, it's like, oh yeah, we did want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're busy too, and it just, yeah. But yeah, the people that I copied you in on, the way that they work is that they will sell sponsorship for an episode of your podcast.
Right.
And since I went to an episode by episode basis anyway, it just works fine.
Right.
So yeah, so I'm working on getting that all done. It's been kind of tricky though, because I need to get a process around it, but part of the process is getting me to do stuff, and that's the hardest thing for me.
Right.
So yeah, I'm planning on this afternoon actually recording new sponsorships for everybody, and what I'm going to be doing there is I'm going to be recording them so they can go in as mid-roll ads, and I'm going to switch to mid-rolls.
Right.
So that's kind of the plan at this point. But yeah, I still have to do that, and then I've got a couple of sponsors that have signed on that I need to record their spots for, and I don't know. I just with everything else going on, it's been kind of hard to get to that because I'm not super motivated to stand up and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah, it's another of many things that needs to be done, and
yeah.
I have no process around it. It's been something that I've been needing to get off of my plate for months, and I've just continuously failed to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. But yeah. But it's core enough to my business that I need to really get a process around it and just make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have anything else to bring up or talk about.
I don't really at this point. I mean, I'm sure I could ask a lot more questions, but I feel like I've hogged up this episode already.
No, you're fine.
After doing that last week as well.
Well, we've talked about my stuff too. It's not just you.
Yeah.
And there are only two of us.
It's true.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to get my hands around enough of these things to feel like I'm doing what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I've totally neglected the book and Rails clips, but I got to get this other stuff handled first. And I'm hoping that by having Gerald working a little bit more on some of this stuff, and then having Melinda doing some more stuff with conferences and stuff, I can focus on some of these other things. So, and I'm trying to figure out how to make it so that they feel like they can give me feedback on the way things are done without empowering them to think that they're entitled to tell me how to run the business.
Right, right.
Because I think that's where I got into trouble with Mandy, is that she felt like she could just tell me what was going to happen and it would just happen. And then she would, anyway, I'm not going to go into all of it with her, what happened with her, but yeah. So I don't know what the right balance is. And it may just be that I communicate to them, look, if you see something that we should be doing that we're not doing, or if you see something that you think we can do better, tell me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, I have the final say, and just make sure that they understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I really do appreciate feedback, and, just ideas on how we can do stuff better.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in the world of lean manufacturing and lean software development around that may be useful for you. It's
Okay, I'll have a
been
look.
it's been a few years since I've dealt with that directly, but I'm trying to think of some of the books I've read in the past that would cover some of that information.
Yeah, and I have a friend named Anders that I need to email and just get his opinion on, because he talked a lot about having that be a core part of his business.
Mm-hmm.
I met him at MicroConf, but basically, yeah, just say, look, how do I do this without falling into this trap?
Yeah, there's
yeah.
different perspectives on that as well. There's like in the world of manufacturing, there's the whole idea of continuous improvement, and there's several stories that I heard pretty regularly around that. Like one of which was there's a certain process in manufacturing motors where you have to get certain things in certain places, and they have to be screwed in appropriately. And as part of a training program for new people in this manufacturing plant, one of the things they do is take large chunks of metal in certain sizes and certain shapes and place them into the appropriate slot. And they're given this task and they go do it, and they're told improve your speed, get it done faster. And so they work on moving faster and getting it done faster, but they inevitably get to a point where they can't make improvements. They can't move faster. They can't just forcibly do things faster without making significant mistakes. And so the people that are doing the training will start to correct their posture, the way they stand, how they're standing, their positioning, where they have their arms, the order in which they do things, how they reach for the object, how they put the object. They start making all of these really subtle changes in how people are doing things, and it gets to the point where this task that is taking these people 2 or 3 minutes to complete, they're now doing it in 30 seconds. It's through this constant level of adjusting small things. And when they get done with these training exercises, they're told, continue. And once you've mastered our process, the way we do things, then you have the right to look for how to improve things. Because we have years of experience in doing this thing this way. We know exactly what the outcome will be. We know what this will produce, how long it will take to produce it.
Right.
Once you can prove to us that you are able to produce the same result with the same speed, then we will listen to your feedback on how to improve it.
Right.
But we will always take our, knowledge and history and understanding of things that have been tried into account back to us with that feedback.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's that aspect of it, of this is the process. You will follow the process. Once you've mastered the process, then you can give feedback.
Right.
There's that. And then there's the military, the Marine Corps way. I think that's actually the name of the book that I'm thinking of. Trying to find it on my bookshelf, but I don't know if I have it anymore. Where it's the way you set the objective and the goal in scenarios where it is not a defined process, where people have to use judgment and have to make decisions on the fly.
Right.
You give them the goal, you give them the objective, and you tell them the basic idea of how to get there, but you let them make decisions along the way. So I think you probably have a fair mix of both of those types of work where there is a clearly defined process, but then with things like the sponsorships and getting speakers on board, there are certain things that need to happen, but there's going to be a lot of there is a necessity for a lot of leeway in decision making
Right.
and empowerment. So I think it might do well for you to understand both of those perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's see if I can find that book real quick. Yep, I do still have it. It's The Marine Corps Way, which surprisingly, I mean, when most Americans at least talk about, the military and command and control and all that kind of stuff, we reference the Army and the way the Army does things. And the Army really is very much top-down hierarchy, centralized command and control.
Mm-hmm.
The Marines are not that way.
Right.
And the way they operate is, they operate in different circumstances and different scenarios with different objectives than the Army does. But the way they operate fits my mentality a lot more than centralized command and control. And it's a really good book called The Marine Corps Way. It's not that big either. It's pretty easy to read. A lot of really good stories in there, a lot of really good quotes.
Sounds good.
I'm trying to think of, from the lean manufacturing perspective, where that story that I told you came from. And I can't remember exactly which book it was from. I have too many lean manufacturing books sitting on my shelf to remember.
That's all good.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, and then you can send it to Eric.
Yeah.
Put in the show notes.
Exactly.
All right, cool. Well, I don't know if there's anything else to really dig into.
Yeah.
Unless you have something.
I could rant and rave about something for the next 20 minutes just to give people the John experience, but
yeah,
I'm kind of tired of talking at the moment.
If we have listeners in Atlanta, I'm going to be in Atlanta from the 25th to the 1st of October.
Nice.
So if you want to hang out, just shoot me an email.
Awesome.
And I will be sending an email out to the mailing list too. Not this next week, because that's the two big things, but after that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's just do some thoughts and we'll end it early.
I don't know what my thought for the week would be.
I mean, my thought of the week is... Oh, go ahead.
No, you go for it. I'm still formulating mine.
So mine is just to keep moving forward. And I've kind of had the same thought of the week in different forms for the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, last week was just... And this week has been so much better, even though I'm exhausted and I've been working a ton to try and keep up with everything. Sometimes things just get rough. Sometimes I find that I'm just perceiving them to be rough. But either way, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that as you keep moving forward, as you keep doing what you know needs to be done, finding maybe new ways to experiment with things, you'll figure out what it is that you need to be doing. And things will work out. So, yeah.
I guess mine is going to be kind of nebulous. I really like that Josh Pigford blog post about tweaking all of the knobs in the business, not just focusing on the one thing that you think is going to get you there, because it won't. But
Right.
in order to do that, you got to be at least somewhat organized. I mean, if you already have a regular rhythm and flow, you don't have to necessarily write it down in Trello or anything like that. You're already organized. You're already in the flow of getting certain things done on a certain date. That's great. I used to be there. I'm not there right now. And I need to be, so that I can continuously tweak all of the knobs as the whole system I mean, it's the lean manufacturing concept again, where you optimize
Mhm.
the whole, not the individual step.
Right.
And so I got to get back to that place. I need to become organized to the extent that I get back into that regular rhythm and flow, so that I can continuously examine and tweak the individual knobs of my business from the larger holistic perspective of my business.
Yep.
So I guess that's kind of my nebulous thought for the week.
Makes
All right,
sense to
man.
me.
Yep.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
Then. Yep. Bye.
All right, take care.